Hello, what's poppin' everyone? And so in this video I'm going to tell you the top 10 reasons why you should learn JavaScript instead of Python. Alright, the number one reason is, of course, JavaScript is the most popular language. And why you might be saying, where are you getting this from? Where are you saying, how are you saying it's the most popular? Well, if you know Stack Overflow, have you heard of it? People post there about coding problems. Well, they had a survey last year, 2019, which was 3 months ago or so. And it was from 90,000 developers. And based on that survey, the amount of JavaScript, I guess, queries or people who stated they use JavaScript was higher than Python. So this is taking into account that it's around 67.8% of developers used or knew some JavaScript, while only 41.7% of developers used Python. So while technically Python was number 2 in the ranking, I wasn't taking into account languages such as SQL, structured query language, or HTML, or CSS. While those are kind of languages, I mean, like SQL has language in the name, it's not like a real language on the level of JavaScript or Python. So from these results that JavaScript is more popular, why would you want to get a job that isn't as popular? Because it's going, of course, if there's more people that knew JavaScript, then it's more likely to get a job if you're using JavaScript as opposed to Python. And because it's more popular is more jobs. Of course, that doesn't mean they pay more. So my second reason why you should learn JavaScript over Python is that JavaScript has more language or more uses inherently than Python, because on the basic level of things, you can use JavaScript for the client side or for the server side. So you cannot use Python to make dynamic web pages so easily, I guess, because there's not really a browser or there's not a good browser that you can use that will render Python instead of JavaScript. Or not render, but it'll use that as the script. So you can probably find one, but it's not worth it. So other than that, though, you can use both JavaScript and Python for pretty much everything. Even though sometimes people like to use Python more for data science, you can use that for JavaScript. You can use JavaScript for data science as well. So they're both kind of equal in most other areas, except for the client. The client side is the only thing that Python really can't do. All right, number 3 on my list is that JavaScript supports asynchronous programming. So you might ask, what is asynchronous? What kind of wizardry magic does that word mean? And it's really relating to programming where two lines of code are happening at the same time. So for example, you might make a service call and then you might do something else while the service call is waiting for the response from the server. So that's kind of getting to the bottom of what asynchronous programming will mean here. So this is important when dealing with programs or code that depends on one another. And Python doesn't have this, so that's another reason why to learn JavaScript. All right, number 4 on the list is that you don't need to learn or worry about indentation with JavaScript, because you can have it all in one line and the code or the JavaScript or the script itself will still compile. It might not be readable, but it will still work. So you don't need to worry about that with JavaScript. So you use curly brackets in JavaScript to determine when a code block ends or not. In Python, you just use the indentations and stuff like that. So it can be annoying with Python to have to worry about those indentations and stuff like that. So that's why it's easier with JavaScript. All right, number 5 on the list is that for JavaScript, you do not need to declare fancy variable types. So for example, you might need to declare in other languages, if something is a Boolean, something is an integer, something is a decimal. So JavaScript handles all that for you. So it just makes your life way easier. And all you really need to do is declare if something is going to be a constant or not, which is pretty easy to, I guess, wrap your mind around. Is something going to change? It's a constant. If not, you can just use normal let for JavaScript. So number 6 on the list is that JavaScript, you don't need to specify the correct parameters when you're calling a function. You can call a function and it might have like 3 parameters that it accepts, but you just give it 1, it's fine. It won't throw an error. While for Python, it will throw an error. So that makes life easier. So you can just like have non-required variables that you're going to use in functions. All right, so number 7 on the list is that JavaScript uses a prototype-based inheritance model. And it allows you to inherit from instances. So this is a more general inheritance model than Python uses. And it can be used in itself to create Python's inheritance model if needed. So it gives more flexibility there. While this is probably the most complex part of JavaScript, this inheritance model, it gives a lot more broadness. You can use it in a much larger number of cases than Python's inheritance model. So number 8 on the list is that you can develop mobile applications using JavaScript much easier than you can with Python. So for example, if you might have heard of frameworks like React Native or Electron, they all use JavaScript, while it's kind of very difficult to find good frameworks for Python for mobile application development. That's not saying they're out there, or they're not out there, kind of like with you can use Python for the client side, but it's out there. It's not recommended. It's kind of similar with using JavaScript for data science. Speaking of data science, number 9 on the list is that you can use JavaScript for data science. So it has visualization libraries, so you can help see what's going on in your data. And one of them is called d3.js. And so they can help you visualize your data. And JavaScript libraries have grown over time. They used to be pretty bad compared to Python, but now they're very similar to Python's level, maybe a little bit lower on the goodness scale. But you can even, there's a JavaScript library called TensorFlow.js, and you can use that for your data science in JavaScript as well. And the final one on my list, number 10, is that it's probably the most general thing, and I've referenced this many times before in this video, is that you can use JavaScript for both server-side and client-side. So some server-side libraries, you might think of something like Express, you can run a server, like an EC2 server using AWS. You can run Express on that server, and then you can use like React using JavaScript on the client side. So I don't like using servers. I like using stuff like serverless. So you don't need to have a whole EC2 running. You use Lambda instead. So while you can use Python for the server, there's libraries out there. You can't really use it on the front end. I wish you the best of luck if you're trying to use Python on the front end. Trying to find a browser that supports Python. Well, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe and whatnot, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.